Hello everyone, this is Zooraptor coming at you yet again, and today we are going to be moving into the second area of my third gate, and it's going to be up here, and it's called Star Wars Land. Let's keep it simple. If we call this Galaxy's Edge or anything similar yet again, it's like, honestly, people are not really gonna care. Also, Galaxy's Edge is kind of a mouthful. So this is the reason why I wanted to leave the reveal for this land until later, because the main entry point to the land will be overshadowed by, as you can tell, the Millennium Falcon. Which probably isn't accurate because I don't quite remember exactly how the Millennium Falcon looks. That's pretty much general, right? And there's that gunner cockpit underneath, and then there's supposed to be another one up here, I think. So I know it's not symmetrical. It's pretty close. So yeah, this Millennium Falcon is going to be held up by these specialized pylons. And the cool thing about this particular Millennium Falcon is, given its position in relation to the hub, this is going to be part of the laser light show that will air every night as the finale to your day at Planet Disney. And so I'm not sure how this is going to work, considering how I've laid it out, like the AT-AT walkers and the original trilogy. But basically what's going to happen is you're going to see the front of the Millennium Falcon during the day, and then at night when the day comes to a close and we start up the laser light show, the Millennium Falcon will rotate. So at one point in the laser light show, you're going to see the back end and the thrusters are going to light up, and that's supposed to be integrated into the show somehow. So I thought that would be a pretty neat effect to have. But I mean, for it to do basically a 180 rotation, but it's like the tracks will be on the side, I don't know how viable that would be. I mean, obviously, given the mechanics of that, you're still not going to be able to sit in the Millennium Falcon. Sorry, people. But it would be pretty cool to see it animated, whereas right now in Galaxy's Edge it's just kind of sitting there static, having smoke and lights turn on, and I don't know, I just feel like giving some life to it would make it way better than what Disney's been doing with it in Galaxy's Edge. So, near the Millennium Falcon, my plan for Star Wars Land is to have it so basically it's going to be divided into 3 zones, because I want to reflect main features of the Star Wars original trilogy, which is you got the Rebel Alliance, the Empire, the Jedi, and the Sith. And I want to integrate them all in there in a way where you can be a fan at any one sector of Star Wars, and then you'll have your experience satisfied one way or another in this park. So, first off, following in Wizarding World's footsteps, we go back to the very beginning of Star Wars, which starts out on Tatooine, much like how Wizarding World had its starting point in Hogsmeade with Hogwarts, because that's what every Harry Potter fan wants to do. They want to go to Hogwarts. And just going back to basics, I feel like that's the best approach. I mean, also given with Tatooine having appeared in both the original trilogy and the prequels, I feel using Tatooine as a jumping point for Star Wars Land would work a lot better, because you can do original trilogy Tatooine or the prequel trilogy Tatooine, or a mix of both, so you can blend it both together. I'm sure most people would want to go to Mos Eisley. That's the cantina in Tatooine. I'm trying to remember how the buildings look. And of course, unlike Galaxy's Edge, we're going to have some creatures. They won't be static, but they won't be like statues either. What was it? It was that one kind of giraffe looking thing. I'm not too familiar with Star Wars creatures, but I mean, having something alive and moving around, even if it's not walking, but just standing there and tilting its head or doing something, is much better than just leaving the area just lifeless. It's got a saddle or something. So yeah, that's the Mos Eisley Cantina. And then we could do one of two ways. We could have it so we could have people visit Luke's house, or not really Luke's house, but his aunt and uncle's house. Because I think in the prequels, Anakin also visited that farm too. Maybe off to the side. So I think it was like partially underground or something. Because you've got the upper building. And then there was like an underground portion nearby. And then there's those towers. And then I want to move Star Tours somewhere around here. Because I want it somewhere nearby the Millennium Falcon, because given that it should be near like some sort of spaceport. So I'll probably move Star Tours over here. The sliding door, which will always be open because you can't have it be sliding open and close for every guest that comes through, because that wouldn't be practical. I mean, it'd be nice during the summer if they could, like, you know, turn on the AC and have the door closed just to keep the AC inside, but again, probably not practical. And again, I'm drawing things way too big now. Alright, so we have... Actually, let's move the cantina over. So we got the Tatooine area. I feel there should be some sort of attraction in Tatooine, and I feel the best attraction would be a pod racing attraction. So this Tatooine would kind of be like in between the prequels and the original trilogy, because of course Luke's home is kind of in both trilogies, and then you have the Mos Eisley Cantina, and then nearby is Millennium Falcon. Because I really want to have a pod racing attraction. That's like the one experience from Star Wars that I think a lot of Star Wars fans would like to have in a Star Wars land. So we have Tatooine in this direction, and then over in the middle, because this would be more like the Rebel base kind of zone, and then the middle I want to have the Dagobah swamps. You have Yoda's house. I mean, that's the one thing that I think a lot of people want to experience, is to actually meet Yoda. And I feel like there should be an animatronic Yoda somewhere. Because all Disney's done is like they pre-recorded his lines for Jedi Academy, and then you don't really see him anywhere in the park. Like, have you ever noticed that, like, every time you go into the park and you see a Star Wars character, it's usually either the Empire or the First Order. You don't really see any of the protagonists like Luke, Leia, or Han. They have never been face characters in the park. But then you always see the stormtroopers walking around, or Darth Vader or Darth Maul. And then with the new Star Wars land in Galaxy's Edge, you have Kylo Ren walking around, and of course more stormtroopers, and then you have like that lieutenant dude, Hud or something. Like, you see so much of the bad guys walking around the parks, but you never really see any of the main protagonists. I mean, yeah, they have Rey, but then like, what about Finn or Poe or any of the other new trilogy characters that they're trying to push on us so much? I mean, in all the years that they've opened Star Tours at Disneyland, I've never ever seen any Luke or Leia or Han walking around. I don't know if they didn't have the rights from George Lucas to have those characters wandering around the parks, but I mean, if they got the rights to have the stormtroopers and R2-D2 and all those other Star Wars villains in the park, like, surely you can have the entire main heroic cast. Because in terms of the main cast from the original trilogy, they had Chewbacca and R2-D2. I've never seen C-3PO. I've heard rumors that he exists, but I've never seen him in all the times I've been to the park, like when they had Star Wars celebrations or near Star Tours or anything. So I just find that it's kind of weird that they never done that. So anyways, moving on. Here we have Luke's X-Wing. Forgive me if I don't get this correct because I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I'm kind of like a casual fan. But I recognize like the basic structures. Got the X-Wing. I think there was like kind of a glider design. And of course, given that the X-Wing is there in Dagobah Forest, or Swamp, I think the one experience that a lot of Star Wars fans would like to have is using the Force to lift Luke's X-Wing out of the swamp. Which is why I want the Dagobah Swamp to be the site of the conflict between the Jedi and the Sith, because you have the Jedi guests training in the swamp, but then you also have that little foresty area that Luke goes through, and that's where you can have all the Sith characters as like a training trial. Spoopy cave forest tunnel thing. And of course everyone who's got those Yoda backpacks would be able to run around this area and be like Luke, going, yeah, I'm being trained by Yoda. And of course, obviously, you can buy the Jedi robes here and you can freely wear it. Whereas in Galaxy's Edge, you can buy a robe, but you're not allowed to wear it because you're hiding from the First Order, which I think is pretty lame. Because, I mean, you go to Harry Potter Wizarding World, you see people buying the robes and wearing it on the spot and getting really into the wizarding experience, and yet you come to Galaxy's Edge and you expect the same treatment for Star Wars and you're not allowed to do it. I just think that's kind of silly. I mean, this would be a great place to hang out during the summer. Or maybe not, because swamps are kind of humid, aren't they? I mean, if they want to keep it like a cold swamp, they could do that, but I think most swamps out there are kind of humid. I don't know, Disney could probably just make this like a cold swamp. They don't really have to make it hot, so it'll be like everyone hiding in the Sith training tunnel to get away from the heat. So we got Tatooine over here, Dagobah Swamp over here, and then over here, for all of you Empire fans, you get to go into some Empire base to go inside and get to be a Empire lieutenant or stormtrooper, and which is also the reason why I have Star Tours here, because it serves both the Empire and the Rebels, but you know, the Empire is going to keep their eyes on travel, so it's going to make it a bit more interesting. I think I meant to draw like the TIE fighters here. We're gonna have the X-Wing, gotta have the TIE fighters. I mean, ideally I would like for people to go into the Death Star somehow. So maybe have this be like a kind of quarter cut area of the Death Star somehow. We could do like the exterior somehow and then have people enter, and then you could look at the inside of the Death Star. Yeah, so you have Empire area, Dagobah Swamp, Tatooine, got pod racing over here near the entrance. I think it would be kind of cool to have Jabba's fortress. Remember there was being like a huge gate. Of course it's not going to be up to scale, it'll be theme park scale. And in Jabba's fortress you can have an encounter with the Rancor, however you pronounce that. You go to Jabba's fortress to do the Rancor encounter. That'd be kind of cool. And of course, anyone who signs up to be a Jedi, there'll be interactive parts all over the area where you can I guess you can have like a magic band, like a special Jedi magic band, and you can wave it over certain areas of the Star Wars land, and you can make things move or push doors in or whatever. Like, that's what I expect going into a Star Wars land. It's like basically the Star Wars version of Wizarding World. Instead of magic, you can use the Force and move stuff around. I mean, that's the one experience that I think a lot of people who are big Star Wars fans wants to experience. So there we have it. We have Tatooine and the Rebel stuff. Got the Death Star-ish kind of area with the Empire, and then Dagobah Forest would be the site of the Jedi versus Sith stuff, and then you have Jabba the Hutt over yonder with his pet Rancor. I mean, I'm well aware that Galaxy's Edge could get rethemed back into Tatooine as originally planned, but I still feel Star Wars really should be in another park instead of shoved into the former location of Discovery Bay. And of course, the fact that you're going to be able to do pod racing in this version of Star Wars Land, I mean, that already makes it way better. Smuggler's Run is great and all, but if you go on the Millennium Falcon, people, I mean, to my knowledge, I would assume that a lot of Star Wars fans, like, if they're going to go on the Millennium Falcon, they want to ride it with Han Solo. And just going on the Millennium Falcon without Han, it feels incomplete. It's not as satisfying. Yes, behold my barren desert. I feel like I'm not really making much of a difference here. Then I think Jabba's door was like his green color. And then ideally over at Walt Disney World, they would have their own Star Wars land, but it won't be the same setup here. Like they would have areas for Hoth and maybe Coruscant. Hoth, Coruscant, the Jedi Temple there. Given that they have a lot more space to work with compared to here in Anaheim where they don't really have much. Actually, I think the buildings were kind of white. They didn't blend with the desert that much. Yeah, they were white. Sorry. Just trying to go off memory. Yeah, it looks about right. And this creature was like brown or something. I don't know, I'm sure most of you in the comments would be like, it's this thing. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm a very casual Star Wars fan. Well, not really a fan, like just a casual observer. I've only seen the movies, I haven't really watched any of the TV shows or whatnot. Yes, I know Clone Wars is supposed to be pretty good. Again, I'm not that big of a fan. I just know the world of Star Wars through the lens of the movies, and that's about it. I mean, at the very least, they could make the X-Wing in Galaxy's Edge, like, open and close the wings at least, instead of just leaving it with just lights and noise. Like, do something with it. And then there was supposed to be, like, a red streak on it. I mean, it wasn't too fancy, I don't think. Of course, the swampy bog. Blurg. And the drab. I think Yoda's house was like this muddy sort of complexion. There's Dagobah Forest. Swamp, sorry. It's Dagobah, that's all I remember. Possibly a nice place to relax during the summer. Maybe not with your Jedi robe, otherwise you're gonna melt. Yeah, Millennium Falcon. Forgot about that. I mean, it's not like I can forget. It's sitting right at the entrance to Star Wars Land. And if you think about it, if you look at it at a certain angle, it looks like the Millennium Falcon is flying towards Earth, which is pretty cool if I say so myself. Looks silly, but, I mean, what works, it works. I mean, given that Star Tours has been redesigned to take place between the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy, I think it'll fit in just fine here. Good old TIE fighter. Of course, you can't sit in it. It'll be a great photo op. And then over here would be like a cutout of the Death Star. Go in, fulfill all your Empire dreams, and learn how to miss like a stormtrooper. And there you have it. My version of Star Wars Land, complete with Tatooine, Dagobah Swamp, and a cut section of the Millennium Falcon, and as a bonus, Jabba the Hutt's fortress with the Rancor encounter. So if you like what I've done, feel free to leave $1 at my Patreon, Ko-fi, or Subscribe Star. If you want, you can subscribe to this channel. I probably would have 1 or 2 more videos after this, and then my Disneyland Resort Reboot will be complete in general. But if any of you guys are interested in the attractions that I've come up for these lands, feel free to leave a comment. Tell me what attraction you would like me to go more in depth with, and I'll be more than happy to do more videos that go far into depth with it. Same kind of format, just gonna take out pen and just doodle out possible queue ideas, what the ride might look or might not look. I'll just scribble up what I can. Again, I'm a character artist. I'm not really much for environment and architecture. Look at what I've done here. I mean, I guess it's kind of passable, but yeah, you know what I mean. So anyways, that'll be all for today. Tune in next time when I would complete the Disney Planet, or Planet Disney, with Marvel Land. I got a few ideas for Marvel Land. I'm not really big on Marvel. I have some concepts, but I'm not really quite sure which properties I should use or which one's more popular. I mean, at this point, it looks like everything in Marvel is popular, so it's gonna take some time for me to figure out how to theme up the land. I mean, I guess I could still go with the Avengers Campus concept, but I feel that doesn't really take you into the world of Avengers that far, so I'm still working out how this is gonna work, especially with Star Wars right there. So that'll be all for now. Till next time, this is Zero Raptor signing off. Laters.